Welcome everybody to the OPT Network. This morning we're joined by Dr. Terry Texada. He has been an orthopedic surgeon for nearly 3 decades. And we see Mid State Orthopaedic and all of the entities that surround Mid State. But this morning we're going to take a deeper dive a little bit into the history. And we're also going to talk about what we all need to know as we move into hunting season. So for the very first time, we welcome Dr. Terry Texada to the OPT Network. Dr. Texada, good morning and welcome.
Thank you for having me, and pleased to be here.
Absolutely. So Mid State, which is now we know Mid State, it's got a history starting back since 1950. Let's rewind and talk a little bit about the history.
So the history of orthopedic care in central Louisiana kind of goes back to Alexandria Orthopedic Clinic, which started back in the mid-50s with Dr. Davis, Lowry, Banks, and Weiss. And so, and then when I started here back in, I think it was 95, we were still Alexandria Orthopedic Clinic, and then soon transformed into Mid State Orthopaedic Clinic, just for business reasons. But so basically the clinic is, we have been doing orthopedic care in this area for since the 50s, and for the most part we've been general orthopedists. And within our clinic, which has grown tremendously. When I first started, there was between 3 and 5 of us, depending on what was happening. We had some people come and go, but currently I think we're up to 10, and we're all still a group of general orthopedists, but we have some specialization within ourselves and things that we like to do. And so within our clinic we'll do self-referral to things that we do more of and are more comfortable with.
What do you like to do?
Oh, myself, I guess as time goes on, your practice kind of transforms into certain areas, or it kind of develops into certain areas that you'll see more of certain things, and it would probably be shoulders, hands, and knees. And so, and that's, it's about a third of each, so I would say.
So when you the name changed and the group started to change and grow, could you all have ever imagined that it would grow into such a staple, not just in Alexandria, but really throughout the state?
Well, in central Louisiana, if you look at the parishes, we cover a tremendous number of lives, and in that area, that number is growing, all the time. But it has, and through a lot of hard work from some of our forefathers, of course, when Mid State Orthopedics, Dr. Chris Rich, who recently passed away, but he worked very hard to create a sports medicine program that, in conjunction with Cabrini, was a very strong and beneficial program that took care of the athletes in this area, which we're still doing today.
And high school athletics is a big part of what Mid State does, especially in making sure that those kids have physicals each year, and you just see a convergence at some point of high school kids, athletes.
That's right. As we all can, we see sports is a huge part of our life these days. And so one of the things that we try to do through that sports medicine is just trying to keep those kids on the field and healthy. So,
do you think we're doing enough to educate coaches and parents about the rigors of the injuries that are sure to come, especially if their kids play sports? And, we were having this conversation with Dr. Letty, and we were talking about kids not just playing sports during the season.
There are a lot of things, and kids are very unique in that you see a lot of injuries from overuse. And I think one of we're getting to a different little bit area, but one of the things that is different, if you look at what has changed through the years, is that, say, when I grew up, you had basically 3 sports. You played football, you played basketball, and then you played baseball, and then you were done. And each one of those activities, you use different muscle groups and have their own unique problems with it. But at the same time, that allowed for rest during those periods to allow you to recover. And with today's times, you see these seasons that never end, the year-round sports, and sometimes with kids, it puts a lot of strain on a growing skeleton, and you'll see a lot of these overuse type injuries that could have been avoided by the less amount of stress being placed through the prolonged activities. So
sort of that rest period.
correct.
And so talk about the specialties. You talk about, how it's grown into special, where it was general, but now you have specialty, and there's so much excellence at Mid State with those specialties.
So with all the things, if you think about orthopedic and just medicine, I think we're just touching the tips of the iceberg of what we're doing. And we learn stuff every year, and just saying shoulders, we see so many changes in things that have happened through the years, and it's constantly changing. But we develop new things that we can do for problems that we didn't have an answer for before. And so as time goes on, you see more problems, and you encounter a lot of things that we didn't have an answer for, or that may have been very difficult to take care of. Now we have answers for it, and then we have people that like to take care of some of those problems. And like say, if in our clinic, I run into something that I'm not really sure what what the best thing may be to do, or if I know what needs to be done, but I don't feel comfortable doing it, well, I'll find one of my partners that likes to do that. So that's the benefit of having a big group and having that little bit of subspecialization that we do have. We all still do general orthopedics, but we do have our comfort areas. So
has it surprised you over the last 30 years at the strides that have been made in medical technology?
Some places, yes, and in some places, like, if you look at some things, like one of the things I do a fair number of knee replacements, and the basis behind the knee replacement has been the same for many years. The materials are better. There may be some new ways of doing it, and that we may be better. We don't know, but the knee replacement hasn't changed so much, other than just techniques of doing it and maybe the materials. So, but you just think about what we have available as far as diagnostics. The problems that we used to deal with and didn't really have an answer. Now, MRIs have been very beneficial. Sometimes they show you what you need to see, and sometimes as you get older, they show you more than you want to know. So
absolutely.
But it's like medicine is changing all the time, and to think that will ever be at a standstill, I don't think so. We're going to constantly improve on what we do. So.
Does it surprise you that the clinic has grown and continues to grow, where you guys are steadily, your place in Pineville and having to branch out?
The thing that we like to see is growth, and it's never easy. At Mid State, most of us have some connection to Central Louisiana, and we look for, I grew up in Alexandria, and went away to New Orleans for 10 years, but then back, it's a good place to live. But most of the guys in our group have some connection to Central Louisiana, and so what we look for are who's coming up down the road, to try to to keep people coming here. So. I think it's a wonderful place to live, but sometimes it's hard to bring somebody that's, say from Dallas, to bring them to Alexandria, so we, about every 5 years, we get some new blood in the clinic. So
and it keeps it growing, and it keeps, I guess, those nuances, keeping, bringing people in from,
people come in and people leave, and I guess I'm currently the one that's been there the longest. I'm not the oldest one in the clinic, but I've been there the longest, and and it's a changing of the guard, so to speak. So, but like I say, we're always looking for new people, but the clinic has grown, and it's very strong right now.
Indeed. Let's take a break here, but when we come back, we'll talk about hunting season. A lot of people are getting ready, and many have already started. But what do we need to know and understand about safety in the sportsman's paradise? Stay on point. We'll have that conversation right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is Dr. Terry Texada. He has been an orthopedic surgeon for nearly 3 decades, and he's seen a lot. And one of the terms that you coined
Yeah.
was sportsman's medicine.
Right.
And it really has to do with people going out and hunting. We know hunting season is upon us, as especially hopefully as we get some cool weather, but I never really thought about injuries as they pertain to hunting. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, and that's the thing, so in we talked about the specialization before in our clinic, and I started the term sportsman's medicine because if you think about Louisiana, it's the tradition of hunting and fishing is big in the state, and we're known as the sportsman's paradise, for that. But so just like everything that we do, just going back to the sports, the athletic endeavors with the football players, you got to stay in shape, and a lot of us as we're getting older, you need to work at things a little bit harder. I say to stay young, and so. But as the hunting season starts, so this is the time of year that people start getting out. It's as far as the hunting, we'll say. And I'll back up just a little bit. When I think about the sportsman's medicine, I think of the 3 F's: fins, feathers, and fur. So the fishermen they're out on the water, and it's typically it's a we'll say from spring through the summer, and then some people are year-round fishermen. But the biggest thing with that is staying hydrated. You get out on the water, and it's probably the first time I ever realized that was this year, because I used to go and not even think about it, but a couple of times I got out and I said, man, I'm just feeling the effects of this. So you got to work at it and be get outdoors a little bit, get acclimated to the climate, but then stay on top of things, because when you get dehydrated and volume depleted, it'll kind of catch up on you quick. So always trying to stay hydrated. And then as far as fishing, know your equipment, know what the boats can do. These boats that we have these days are so much more powerful than when I was a young kid, and they can get away from you. And despite being a skilled driver or whatever, bad things happen with a boat that can go up to 70 miles an hour.
And especially when you add the waves into that, and you add other boats into that.
Exactly, and that kind of brings up another thing. These days, we just had a hurricane not too long back, and there are very few surprises. With our cell phone now, you can track what's coming around. So, be aware of what's going on around you, and try not to get caught out in those situations, like you say, big waves. And I have a history with that too. Bad history. So but anyway,
that brought back memories.
Right.
Because there's nothing more surprising, I think, that when you're on the water and you're enjoying the wave, but then you add other boats, and if you make a move that is counterintuitive, it could be very, very dangerous.
You get a wave wrong, and yes, boats can go different places, and like you said, the boats that we have out there, and through all the different recreation, be it your skiers, your wave boarders or whatever, these are powerful boats, and so you need to know your equipment. So, but yeah, that's one of the things. And then, like, once again, staying hydrated and probably more water than beer or alcoholic beverages, definitely, it's better for you. So,
and nobody wants to hear that, because that's when you want to have your libations, but you do have to stay hydrated.
Exactly. So then the next part of it, we think about the feathers. The dove season just started, so we had this past weekend was open in dove season. Well, it was in the 90s, and it was hot, and once again, staying hydrated, and when there's a gun involved, definitely no alcohol. And so, but just staying on top of things, because it'll catch up on you quick. The other hunting, duck hunting, which, again, it's being aware of the climate around you, what weather's coming in, being in a boat that is seaworthy, especially, unfortunately on Catahoula Lake, which is probably it's a historic place as far as duck hunters. And every so often, we have people that are in probably a boat that's too small. They get caught out up in some bad weather, and boats go down and people die. So it's being aware of your surroundings, know what your equipment can do, and I always think of the line that Clint Eastwood in one of his movies is, "Man has to know his limitations." And you
Right.
really do. So just being on top of that. But probably the biggest area that, and that gets to the fur part of it, is the deer hunting. So once again, this time of year, as everybody's getting out on their tractors, they're getting out in the August and September, and then the heat, staying on top of the hydration. But you have to have a plan, and you need to be doing stuff with a friend. You need to have, people need to know what's going on with that. When you deal with, we'll just talk about deer hunting. So deer hunters, you're either in a box stand, or you're in a ladder, or you're in what we call a lock-on stand, a stand that is clamped to the tree with a small ladder up to it. Well, all these things involve a height to it, so and a fall from any of that is not good. So we'll talk about box stands. The first thing that happens with a box stand is that you haven't been there for about a year, and you go up to that box stand, and there's going to be some critter in there. It may be a raccoon, a possum, snake, a wasp nest. That's the one you open up the door, and all of a sudden you get hit by 20 wasps. Well, the next thing you're looking for is a way out of there.
Right.
And that may be 10 feet down. So, be prepared for these things. Go up, a bug bomb, wasp spray, do all these things, and just checking all that. So I look at ladders and the lock-on stands, as we talked to. There are safety devices that have been around now, and people are more aware of it. In fact, every time you buy some form of a deer stand, it comes usually with a harness to wear, a safety harness. Well, one of the things that we do is with ladders and with these lock-ons, you have a what they call a lifeline, and so it's a rope. The first thing you do when you put it up there, and it can be a dangerous thing, putting up a ladder or a lock-on stand. And that's where you need more people. But when you get it up there, the first thing you should do is make sure you have that lifeline. And what the lifeline is, it hooks to the top of the tree and then to the bottom of the tree. And when you come up with your safety harness, you hook into that lifeline. And as you go up, you're staying connected the whole time. So if you fall at any point during that time, you'll be suspended and won't hit the ground. So it's very important. And even the other form of tree stand that especially bow hunters will use are what we call climbers, where it's a two-part thing and you actually climb up the tree. Well, in that process of climbing up the tree, you should always have your harness attached to the tree, because things can happen during that time. And I have a very close friend that was about to shoot one of these big bucks with his bow, and one that he had been hunting for the whole time. And right as he's about to shoot, the bottom of his stand shifted and he about fell out. And so luckily his foot caught on, and and he was small enough that it didn't kill. He didn't hit the ground, but he was able to grab onto the tree and shimmy down. But that could have been a tragic.
Do you think, though, Dr. Tejada, that people get so complacent? Because if you're a hunter, you've done it more times than you can count, and there is a familiarity there that says, I'm comfortable, I've got this, and you're not expecting the unexpected.
Well, and that's so true. And when you come, so we're talking about all these stands. So all these stands are held to the tree by either a strap, a chain, or whatever, or they may be wood. There's not many wood stands out there as much, the old wooden ladder stands that we use as much. But those straps, number one, the straps will rot. So you go up to your stand. The other thing is you have squirrels that'll eat the straps, and then so you may go up to that stand the first time of the season, just trying to get everything ready, and you put pressure on it, well, it breaks, and then down you come. So that's why I say it's very important to have that safety line the whole way through there. But you can't get complacent. That's when bad things happen. To think that you're always prepared for something, you're not, And
in that complacency, if you fall out of a deer stand, or if you take any misstep and you break a bone, a leg, an arm, there's not always great cellular service in the woods.
So true. And that's why I say it's so important to have a plan, that somebody knows where you are. And then more important than that is have a friend with you when you're doing, especially the preparation. during the hunts, one of the places I hunt, we have a checkout list. Everybody knows where everybody's going. And at the end of the day, you always look and say, make sure everybody's in, and so if somebody's not in, then you know where to go look for. And so you check out to certain areas. And so But you have to have that plan, and it's always good to have a buddy with you.
Absolutely. Dr. Tejada, this is great information. Before we've got to let you go, just tell people how they can connect to Mid State. And I think that we all, no matter if we feel like we're in good shape or not, we just kind of need to have those checks so that we know what our bones are doing, especially as we start to age.
Well, and that's so true. And one of the things I've seen about getting older, it's I call it an awareness. You become aware of more parts of you because they start hurting more.
Absolutely.
And so there are a lot of things that we have, and just the routine things that we see, and a lot of that can be prevented. You just have to work at it a little bit more, a little exercise. I look at, not so much weightlifting, but doing flexibility, cardiovasculars, just staying in shape. And, but at Mid State Orthopaedics, if you ever do have a problem, and we've got somebody there that can, take care of something, or at least get you in the right direction of getting better. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. We know how busy you are. Thank you for taking the time. And these are tips that, you don't think about until you get into those situations where you say, if only I would have. And so it's really, really important for people who are hunting, who are fishing, who are going into the outdoors to have that plan and understand when we don't plan, we plan to fail. So thank you for reminding us of that.
Okay, well, thank you.
Indeed. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back right after this.